Hello, everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Today, we're going to take another look at a growing trend in education, homeschooling. According to the National Home Education Research Institute, there were approximately 2.5 million homeschool students in the U.S. in 2019, representing a 36% increase since 2007. Many parents are choosing homeschooling for a variety of reasons, including dissatisfaction with public school systems, concerns about safety, and the desire for a more personalized education. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated this trend, with many families opting for homeschooling or remote learning due to health concerns. My guest today is Morgan Ryza, an education expert who helps families navigate homeschooling and unschooling with an eye towards providing custom education and building shared memories and lasting relationships. With a background in education and reading, Morgan spent 10 years in public schools before homeschooling her own children. Her approach led to motivated and inspired teens who take ownership of their education and responsibilities, running profitable businesses, and volunteering for service groups. Morgan's experience as a virtual instructor led her to start coaching homeschool parents with insights, tools, and understanding. So why are so many parents turning to homeschooling, and what are the benefits and challenges? Well, we're about to find out. Welcome, Morgan Ryza.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. Why don't you describe your foray into homeschooling and what made you think that this was the right choice for your children and for your family, because it really is a family endeavor.
It is a family endeavor. And what motivated us was a move across the country. So prior to moving to Idaho, we lived in Texas, where I taught public school. And I thought my son, who was starting kindergarten the following year, would be in my friend's classroom. And then I found out we're moving and he's going to be with a stranger, which I know parents across the country do all the time. But I thought with my education degree, I could teach kindergarten and we would just do it that first year. Well, that son has his own challenges. If he was in the public school, he'd definitely be labeled with ADD, ADHD, and he's just all boy. So that means he cannot sit still. Mm-hmm. And trying to homeschool him was challenging, and it led me to a lot of frustration because I had for 10 years 20 kids do exactly what I asked for the most part, and this child is saying no at every turn. So it just led us to a more unschooling approach for that year, which just means we kind of dropped the curriculum and allowed his interests to lead our learning, which was perfect for him. And it allowed our family more time together and to grow closer through those connections. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's why we really chose it for us. And each year we would discuss with the kids if they wanted to go to school. He has a sister that was 3 at the time. And so we would discuss with them, and they love their freedom to spend their days the way they want to. Of course, there are some non-negotiables, but they love their freedom to homeschool, and they have chosen to stay home every year.
Mm-hmm. You know, I had to chuckle when you talked about having a son who was, very active and all of that. And the idea of having a child after you had taught school for 10 years and somehow were able to get a classroom of 26 children to follow your instructions, but this one child of your own would not. And that's funny. I used to say to my children, I have twin sons, when they were little, like, people used to listen to me. I mean, I wasn't a teacher, but I was in corporate marketing and I led teams of different people, different ages, races, and functional roles. And I was able to bring everybody together. And I would tell them, there's some people that really think I'm smart and they think I have good ideas, but those two had a mind of their own. So that was really funny for me. Now, what do you think are the critical steps that parents need to take if they are serious about homeschooling their children?
So if they're serious about homeschooling their children, the number one thing to look at is to go to the hslda.org, their site. So it's Homeschool Legal Defense Association. In the United States. So if you're in another country, look at your laws through your country. But if you're in the United States, it's regulated by your state. So each state has its own homeschooling laws. And if you go to that site, there's a map and you can click on your state. They make it very user-friendly and list all your laws and regulations. So some states have a little bit of a higher regulation. You have to turn in a form. You have to do state testing. These are some examples of what that would look like. And then some are super free and there's no regulation other than teaching similar subjects to what would be taught in school. So covering your topics, your subjects. So that would be the first thing because you want to stay within the law.
Sure. And
there's organizations to help you if you're wanting to change those laws in your state. And then the second thing, I have a book that I wrote actually for this, and it is called Curious Journey to Homeschooling, easily found on Amazon. But what I do is walk through the qualities and understanding that you need to consider as you move into homeschooling, because it takes a certain perspective as a parent. If you're trying to homeschool your kids, and I'm going on the assumption if you're homeschooling your kids, then the public school, the private school system has not worked for you. So replicating that at home may not be the best choice. So you may need to shift your just understanding of learning a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, because it's like, when you think of homeschooling, that's what you kind of envision. Okay, they're going to try to replicate what happens in a regular school in terms of the order of things, and except we're going to do it at home and we have our own schedule. But, I mean, there's a reason you don't go to those schools. So why bring it home? That's a very good point.
Yes. And the other thing is just to define your why. So, if it's because of safety, if it's because of other things in your environment, if it's for the family time, whatever it is, just really define that why, because you're going to have to come back to that when you're challenged. And when you're feeling, just overwhelmed, you will have to come back to that why and reassure yourself.
Yeah, and I like that too, because that why is very important, because I like to do a lot of activities with my sons when they were younger, and I would create my own workbooks based on things that I saw, based on their needs, things that I thought they needed to work on, when they were in preschool and the early elementary school years, and create something unique for them. And people would always ask, why don't you homeschool? I mean, just the way you have your house set up, you like to do these things with them. And I said, I don't have a reason to do that. I'm in an area where I like the schools. I said I would do anything for them. If we were in a place where I didn't think about school safety that much then, my sons are 23 years old, didn't know I had to think about it the way we do now. But, if I was concerned that they really could not get a quality education, then I would be all in. I'd have every book I need. I'd read every book I needed to learn how to do it well and all of that. But basically I didn't have the why. As you said, I didn't have the reason at all to do that. And I think it is a good idea to get clear on why you want to do it. And I'm sure we're going to get into it later because, not only does it help you hang in there when the going gets tough, but it also, I'm sure, will shape what your homeschooling experience looks like. So,
Yes.
yes. And so let's talk about that in terms of thinking about the curriculum and all of that parents select and just their philosophy in terms of what they're trying to create for their children.
Perfect. Yes. The why definitely leads you to the how.
Okay. We'll be right back after this. If you're looking to reach a massive audience of parents and caregivers, then look no further than ProPix by the Parenting 411, the ultimate marketing program designed to skyrocket your brand to new heights. With ProPix, we've created 3 incredible packages to suit your marketing needs and budget. So let's take a look. First up is our social starter package. You'll receive a stunning graphic promo piece, plus we'll also feature your brand on the Parenting 411 Instagram page. It's the perfect way to make a memorable first impression and get parents buzzing about your business. Now, if you're ready to level up, our Parenting Pro package is where it's at. You'll enjoy all the benefits of the Social Starter package, plus more awesome benefits, including exposure on the Parenting 411 podcast, which reaches parents in more than 22 countries each week. But wait, there's more. For those seeking the pinnacle of marketing power, our Elite Exposure package is the way to go. You'll get even more exposure across our platform, including thousands of followers and connections on LinkedIn. Get ready to dominate the airwaves and establish yourself as the go-to resource for families everywhere. Take advantage of ProPix by the Parenting 411 today and unlock unparalleled marketing opportunities for your business. But I should tell you that prices are set to increase on November 1st, so act now. ProPix by the Parenting 411 is your passport to the hearts and minds of parents. Visit ProPixbyP411.com. Join us today and watch the magic happen. And we're back with the Parenting 411.
So the curriculums, there's so much out there. So like you said, when your boys, they're 23 now, were young, there weren't all the choices. Technology, the internet has really brought forth so much. And what happens is you have to just kind of walk through, and I help parents do this, walk through different homeschooling methods. I mean, believe it or not, there's many different homeschooling methods. And choosing the method that works for you as the mom or the homeschooling parent is super important because you're going to have to work with it every day. Equally important that it fits for your child. So those 2 things help you personalize how it's going to look in your home. And then you have to look at, even once you figure out that method, then you can look at different curriculums that are offered and out there, and whether you want it to be that open and go, ready, set up in a box checklist. The hands-on approach, if you want it more experience-led, and worksheet driven is a choice, literature-based, project-based, so many things. People use game schooling, so you can even move that direction and more play-based. Though there is such a wide range, but as you develop the why, and then you look at how really resonates with you through the methods, then you can move to the curriculum. Lots of people want to go straight to that curriculum, and there's lots of curriculums reviewed, and sometimes it's just hit or miss. And so you can spend thousands of dollars on a curriculum, and which is totally fine, but I just highly recommend you move through that system, the why, the how, and then figuring out the curriculum instead of just moving straight to the curriculum. That way it just works for you and your family.
Yeah. And I think that, again, I didn't have the why. So when I think about it, if I had to do it, I think I'd be one of those, let's go like straight to the curriculum. What does it have? Does it have tick all the boxes? Yeah, we're going with that one. And really, probably so many other things to be considered, learning style, all these other things, the impact on the family in terms of time and how we can how we can integrate all of this. So yeah, now that's very good that we have people like you who help parents through this. So how do you support parents as they set out to homeschool their children?
So, right now, again, I just draw on my education and then my experience working with, I actually helped with a homeschool support group, which sounds crazy, but moms need that support.
Yes.
And we met once a month, just like helping work through challenges, but also being there to celebrate the wins with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a great experience as well. I have different coaching techniques, different coaching approaches that I offer, as well as I just created a program that walks you through step by step, creating that homeschool of your dreams that's going to work for your family. There's handouts, and you get a free coaching call every week. And there's also printables and just like a little bit of homework. So don't think hours of homework, but just a little bit of challenging questions to move you along in your journey of setting it up. So we set it from the ground up so that it's something you're happy with. And it's something you can use, because a lot of times when those parents just start looking and finding a curriculum, it doesn't work. And they're like, well, homeschooling didn't work for me.
Right.
But that one method, that one curriculum didn't work for you and your kids, and I think through that it's called my individual education boot camp. Through that, I help people, and it's 12 weeks. But other things I offer are workshops and courses on project learning, nature learning, and game schooling. So just little tidbits that parents can integrate into what they're already doing and get a feel for my approach.
And so could a parent come work with you because they're thinking about homeschooling, but they haven't made all of those decisions yet? And walking through your program together, you could select the correct curriculum based on their goals and ideas.
Yes, that is what I'm trying to do, is get those parents that are either frustrated with where they're at homeschooling, or they're just starting to think about it, so that we can make it successful for them and their kids, instead of that burnout mode that can happen when you don't get the help. I'm trying to be the help I wish I had.
Right. So anecdotally, what are you hearing from the parents that come to work with you? Like, why are they deciding to homeschool? And have they been, in fact, swayed by current events, school leadership, or other factors?
So the parents that come to me are disenchanted with the public school system for so many different reasons. But the ones I hear over and over are bullying, just that kid-on-kid bullying dynamic that happens in so many schools. I know they try to address it, but it happens. And then low standards for the schools. As far as academic standards that they're requiring. Lack of family time is huge, with more and more homework coming home, and that dictating how they spend, the evening that they have together.
Right.
And I mean, and that's one that comes up, and they're like, well, I can't homeschool because I can't even do homework. And I'm like, it doesn't look like that. Someone else is choosing that for you. And you're having to implement what somebody else is choosing. With homeschooling, you get to choose. And you're not doing 8 hours a day and then some. So, and then current events involving safety and questionable curriculum choices are huge, as well as lack of opportunities.
And both from your experience and then perhaps what your clients are saying, what are you finding are the real benefits of homeschooling?
Oh, I could talk about benefits for so long. So what we're finding for the benefit is relationships. You're able to connect with your kids on a way different level. And because of the time, you just have so much time with them. But not only the parent-child relationship, but if you have siblings, the sibling relationship. In my house, I have a son and then a daughter. They're 2 years apart. And I will not lie to you and say they're the best of friends, but they run in the same friend group, and they definitely have each other's back
That's good.
and move out of their way to support each other. Which then moves into the time that you get, the more time as a family to develop those bonds. Freedom, you get to choose what to prioritize and how you spend that time. That's huge. So again, going back to the laws in your state, as long as you're meeting those, you get the freedom to choose. Engagement in their passions and interest. So a lot of times these are things that are on the back burner, especially if you're in public school and you have to meet all these requirements every day, be in school a certain number of time, a certain amount of time, and then homework or projects that they're deciding you do. Well, with homeschooling, you really get to lean into their passions and their interests. So if they're into art, if they're into any vast number of things, they can spend time doing that. So no time is wasted. And you know your kids are safe.
Yes, that's important. No doubt about it. One thing you mentioned about having more time with them, and that was something else that I worried about. More time with them. I mean, in terms of them, it's one more thing you're telling them that they've got to do. I mean, in terms of teaching them. And I think a lot of people wonder about what the impact is of that on the relationship, because you've got mom time and then there's teacher time, and like they can't escape you. So talk about that a little bit.
Yes. So that is very true. And I think you have to set that up in your house and it just depends on your personality. As far as if you're nagging and requiring things, yes, that can be a turnoff. And then you might need to outsource some things. And that's fine, because you're putting those people in your child's life. So you're deciding, oh, yes, down the street, there's another homeschooling mom who is actually, a whiz at math. How about we do some sort of trade where you go with her kids and do math, and they'll come here and I'll do language arts or history. And so then they get a different perspective. Also, sports is a great time to sign them up. They have to come to another coach. They have to speak to him. They have to follow his or her rules. Right. And so that's another approach for, just outsourcing a little things. Just because you're homeschooling doesn't mean you have to do it all. But it means you get to decide how that time is spent.
Yes. And I think that would be comforting to a lot of parents as well, because I'm sure initially they're like, well, math was never my thing, or science. And the idea of being responsible for your child's education, because this has to be going somewhere. You have to be preparing them for something. And that's a lot of pressure for some parents. So, and I have definitely seen how homeschooling has evolved in the years since my children were born, because there were a few moms very few that I knew personally, say, that were homeschooling, and it was just like, oh, I admire you so much. God bless you. Don't know how you're doing it, but and we definitely did have the impression that they were responsible and on the hook for everything, like every element, all of the subjects fell on the mom or parent who was doing the teaching. Now, you talked a little bit about, outsourcing as a way to shift some of that pressure or interaction. But what are some other recommendations you have for establishing some boundaries between, family and life and school activities? School being in your home activities.
Yes. So I looked at that a couple of ways in our home. First of all, comparison is the thief of joy. I'm sure everyone's heard that. So it's really hard as a homeschooling mom. You cannot compare yourself to your friend who homeschools or your friend who sends their kids to public school. You can't compare your kids to their kids. It's just detrimental to your mental health. So that would be my first boundary, is try to not compare. Everybody has kids that are different personalities, different strengths. And then in your home, you can set it up with those boundaries as far as there's a school schedule, there's certain school hours. I mean, I'm of the approach, kids are always learning. So I would call this is our seat work time. This is organized learning.
Okay.
And so you could have a strict schedule. You could follow a routine. Every morning we move through these things and then we have more freedom, depending on your personality, your kids' personality, and their ages. That's going to make a difference. So also, in your home, you can change it and allow for learning to happen all the time and then document what they're doing.
Okay.
So a lot of not planner parents, because I don't want you to think everyone has to be a super organized planner. You can go backwards and be like, oh, we're going to do a unit study on dinosaurs and have resources, but yet you're documenting, oh, we watched this, we read this book, and then you just move through what you did instead of saying we have to do, which can take some pressure off the parent and the kids. And then another boundary to think about is taking us back to knowing your why. If you don't have supportive family, so I'm talking about family outside your home, of course, the people in your home need to be on board with your why. They need to have their why. And so if you don't have supportive family outside your home, you have to be firm in that together with the family in your home. And I can't stress enough how much it is relieving to find those like-minded parents that are doing this as well, so they can come alongside you and say, yes, everybody cries over the math worksheet at least once, so it's okay. So, just someone there to support you as well.
We'll be right back after this. Are you a parent looking to unlock your potential in raising confident, capable, and courageous children? Well, look no further. Join us at the upcoming Parent and Purpose Summit Back to School Edition, where parenting experts from around the world will come together to share their wisdom and insights. I'm Carol Maletta, founder of the Parenting 411. This summit is your opportunity to gain essential skills and tools to become the parent you've always aspired to be. Over 5 incredible days, we'll dive deep into topics like positive discipline, effective communication, mental health, self-care, school readiness, and more. An attendee from our last summit told us, "This summit changed my parenting game. I feel more confident and connected with my children than ever before." So secure your seat at the Parent and Purpose Summit today. Visit parentandpurposesummit2023.com. That's parentandpurposesummit2023.com. And click the registration button to join us on this transformative journey. The Parent and Purpose Summit, where intentional parenting begins. And we're back with the Parenting 411. And so you've shared a lot of benefits and great strategies for integrating school and life happening in your home. What can be some challenges of homeschooling and how can they be overcome?
Okay, so being real, this is not all rainbows and unicorns, of course. Let's say at the beginning, I said my son would probably be diagnosed with ADD, ADHD. I filled out enough of those forms as a public school teacher to send back to the doctor that I know he would have had plenty of boxes checked. But homeschooling those kids does not have to be difficult. Those are actually the parents that I specialize in helping. Those out of the box kids that you're like, oh, this is a little challenging, because you can naturally make accommodations in your home.
Okay.
So if you have a student like that in the public school, you have to go to meetings and get them a plan, but you can naturally accommodate and find techniques that work for you. So one I like to use is called brain breaks, where we would stop, run around outside, jump on the trampoline, just kind of change the environment, get a little oxygen, move the body a little bit. If it was cold or rainy, I mean, we live in Idaho, so we'd get out the Twister game and they could play that. Just take a little 10-15 minute break to reset.
Okay.
That was one of the techniques that worked wonderfully with him. Other things that are challenges, late readers, that's going to happen. But the thing is, in your home, you have time to develop that love of story. There's no one saying that child has to be reading at 6 years old. So you can allow them the time and space to just enjoy the story, enjoy language, and find that happiness in reading. That a lot of times, if we drill and do the worksheets, do the flashcards, and really harp on that area, we kill that love of reading. Those kids won't go on to read books or enjoy. And I mean, that is not my goal as a parent. I wanted them to love reading, love learning. So you can slow that process down. Reluctant writers, again, you get to take that slower approach to writing stages. And as they move into middle school, it will all come out in the wash. Like it will all even out. Math challenges. This is my favorite one. If your kid is just not clicking with the math, you have more time to do the concrete. So before you move to the abstract on the worksheet. So you get to move the manipulatives. You get to bake in your home. You get to measure things.
Good point.
And do all those things. Then you can also bring in games that teach math skills or practice math skills. And they will click so much faster because they're playing, they're engaged, and they're learning. So that is my favorite way to approach math.
So in closing, what would you say, what kind of inspiration can you provide for someone who's kind of looking across the abyss and thinking about whether they want to do this? What would be your closing words to inspire them to look a little closer and see if this is something that they want to do?
I would say try it, because you can always go back to the public school. It will be there. But if you don't try it now, you may regret it later on. So will you regret not just giving it an attempt? There's no age that it's too old to start this. So, I mean, I talked to a mom last week that was starting with a high schooler who's just decided she doesn't want to do this. And she's like, I don't know where to begin. I'm like, oh, we start right here. And you get to move forward. So just know you can do this. There are so many resources online, your library, that your community that can help you do this. It's not a one man or one woman show anymore.
That's great. That's great. And I think it would also be inspiring and encouraging to know how your son and daughter speak about their experience.
Okay. So we started, like at the beginning of this podcast, I said we started with him in kindergarten. Of course, his sister, being that typical girl, she just moved right into learning right alongside him. And so we had a very experienced approach. So hands-on learning. We did use some curriculum and read lots of books. Now they have moved on, and she will graduate in May of next year. So 2024. He is graduating in December 2023.
Okay.
Because I told them they needed separate dates. He could actually graduate this year. He has enough credits.
Right.
But he competes at a national level for high school in bass fishing.
Okay.
So in order to compete, he needs to at least do the fall semester. Now he's gone on to nationals for three years. Yes. So
that's wonderful.
That's why he wants to do that. But he was able to lean into that passion. That passion for fishing has evolved. It started in middle school, really strong, and it just evolved into something huge that he shares with his friends. Last night, he created his own him and friends created their own friendly competition on a local lake so they could all meet up and throw in a little bit of cash and see who caught the biggest fish. So he's reaching out and working through the community. He has gone on to become certified in welding. He does work with that. He has a custom welding business he does work for, and that sort of thing. He plans to go on to lineman school. Both of my kids are very just that trade school oriented.
Okay.
They feel like they've had enough history and English to last a lifetime. And then my daughter in her own right has all her things going on too. She had a successful baking business and then an Etsy shop. And now she's moved on. She wants to go to cosmetology school. And here in Idaho, you can't start that until you're 16 and a half. So she got certified to do lashes. And she has a little studio on our property where she's going to start offering that.
Wow.
So, I mean, and this just all evolved because they were able to spend so much time and energy in what they were interested in and learning after they did any requirements from me.
And do they ever talk about how they appreciate that, the way they've learned and the experience and all of that?
Yes. Yes. She especially is so glad with how bullying and mean girls can happen in schools. She is so thankful she doesn't have that drama when she talks to her friends that go to public school. She is so happy to not be involved in that drama. And then my son is so happy to be able to have time to work in the field he wants to go into before he is out and left our home with his own responsibilities is great. They both work for small businesses. So they get to see that behind the scenes to see if that's what they want to move into. And I get feedback. My daughter works at a consignment store and the girl that owns it, we're friends. So I get feedback from her. And then we get feedback from my son's employers. They love them. They love their work ethic. They love that they're self-motivated and doers. So that's what you're able to develop because it's very individualized and they don't feel like they have to do exactly what everyone else is doing, which can happen in a classroom because they want you to do what everyone else is doing. Right.
Well, that's wonderful. I hope anyone listening will be encouraged about that, particularly if they're seriously thinking about doing it. So where can everybody learn more about you and your company and all the programs you provide?
So I have a website called Guidance and then the number 2 and Guidance, the number 2, and then homeschooling.com. So you can find that there, and then guidance to homeschooling at gmail.com works if you want to email and reach out to me. I do offer a free clarity call just to see if what I have to offer you will work or if you and I are a match as far as working together. So feel free to sign up for that.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Morgan. I loved learning more about homeschooling and just really hearing how it has evolved from the time when I first heard of it. So thank you for that. I know that there's some listeners out there who are tuning in and really find this to be valuable information. And to our listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. I know you have a lot of choices of podcasts, so I don't take it lightly that you chose to listen to the Parenting 411 podcast today. Like, share, and subscribe. Share this episode as well as the podcast overall with your friends. And I ask that you head on over to www.mothersworkthebook.com and grab my free mini motherhood memoir, Mother's Work, Pearls of Wisdom and Gems for My Journey. I'm offering it free, except for shipping and handling. But not only do you get the book, but you would also get my webinar, Do You Hear Me? Staying Connected in the Chaos, along with the companion workbook, as well as an ebook of my best-selling and award-winning book, Parenting Odyssey, Trials, Treasures, and Triumphs of Parenting in a Pandemic. It's an anthology written by parents just like you, who talk about how they rose to the occasion and how what they did during that challenging time of 2020, how they use those skills and use that experience to take it forward so that they can be prepared to conquer any crisis. So I hope that you will take advantage of those products, those opportunities. And as always, follow the Parenting 411 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And always remember that it is never too late to be the parent you want to be. Thank you.